p.m. Not a huge trade, not a surprising trade, but a trade nevertheless. We've been waiting for one of these dominoes to fall as it relates to a veteran player landing with a new franchise. 49ers GM John Lynch said this week, Deebo Samuel has asked to be traded, and they're going to honor the request, which means this was inevitable. And so the news breaks Saturday around dinner time. 49ers have a deal to send Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders for a fifth-round pick. $17.55 million is what he's due to make this year. I've seen others say it's more like $21.7. Maybe I missed something, and that's entirely possible, but I went back to the original calculations we did when we broke down the Deebo Samuel contract extension that was signed in 2022. $17.55 million is what I calculate this to be. Last year, the contract, free agent in 2026, remains to be seen whether or not he wants a new deal on the way through the door, whether or not maybe they have an agreement in place to give him a new deal. If so, that has yet to come to light. Might just be they send a fifth-round pick for 1 year, and then they'll decide what they're going to do when 2026 rolls around. This is a calculated risk for the Commanders. On one hand, you've got Adam Peters, the GM of the team, who knows a thing or two about Deebo Samuel because he was the assistant GM in San Francisco when Samuel got his latest deal. And remember all that ugliness from 2022? Samuel was done with the 49ers. He wanted to be traded back to the East Coast. There were all these different reasons and explanations, and it felt like they were headed in separate directions, and then boom, they did the deal. Now, with 1 year left on that contract, there's a new deal in place. At least a new team in place. We'll see whether or not that new contract comes. For the 49ers, they've got Brandon Ayuk coming off of torn ACL. They've got Ricky Pearsall, who had a solid rookie season, especially when we consider what happened to him on Labor Day weekend. They may have to go out and try to enhance the receiving core elsewhere, but this was about recognizing that, for their perspective, the time had come to move on from Deebo Samuel. And it's possible that the change of scenery will make all the difference. His numbers were not great last year. He had that career high in 2021. It's tailed off since then. Who knows? Who knows if you can turn the clock back? He's 29. He's got a lot of wear and tear, a lot of hard yards, right? Not a lot of separation down the field, big catches, a lot of get the ball and just plow your way through defenders. Remember, they discovered what a great running back he was in the 21 season. So the real question is going to be, how much is left in the tank? Is there an accumulation of hits that will keep him from being a number one or a number two? And right now, Terry McLaurin is the number one in D.C. When you look at their slate of free agents, 28 in all, there's a lot of receivers whose contracts are expiring, like De'Ami Brown, just to name a few. And there are 4 or 5 of them in all that are due to become free agents. Terry McLaurin, the only recognizable name that is under contract for 2025, other than Luke McCaffrey, draft pick last year, who may see some increased opportunities if more of these guys who are due to be free agents move on and new guys come in, like a Deebo Samuel. So there'll definitely be a role for him. Top of the market's $35 million. $17.55 is a good deal. It's almost such a good deal that maybe Samuel's going to want a new deal. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But as I always say, if you're going to do a new contract when you trade for a guy, do it on the way in. Because once you do the deal, the leverage goes to the player. It's all got to be part of the transaction. Hey, you want a new team? Fine. Here's the contract we're offering. Agree to it now. Let's get it done now. Hell, for all I know as I sit here saying this, it's possible the reports are already emerging. We're trying to get this thing moving, get the video posted, so you can hear our immediate analysis of the news that landed, not necessarily out of the blue, but still, we weren't expecting it. Trade in place, 49ers, Commanders, Deebo Samuel to Washington. And remember the one caveat, I mention this all the time, because one of these days,
the Giants, it feels like the most sense right now.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Okay, so first and foremost, all of these make sense to me. I understand the logic on all of them, and certainly the Graziano, you seem, which one of it you definitely dislike?
Darnold.
You don't like Darnold staying in Minnesota?
I don't think it makes. I don't think it makes sense for their long-term plan in J.J. McCarthy.
Okay, fair enough. I understand.
You get him for 1 year, sure.
I don't disagree.
I don't think they're going to do that.
I actually like Darnold to the Raiders. I think if Darnold, who has sort of found the fountain of whatever with the great coaching that he has had, get him around Tom Brady, get him around Pete Carroll, get him around Chip Kelly, and see if he can make something happen. But I want to focus on the Rodgers of it all for the moment here, because if you're Rodgers, like, think how close you were to the possibility of the Rams being there and that taking place. To fall from that to where you are, where you're talking about here, if I'm Rodgers, I might consider waiting until the summer. Like we always see, there's like a team that's going to have an injury in the preseason. They're going to lose their quarterback, and maybe he's the guy they go to. If I'm him, and far be it for me to put myself in his place, I think that's what I would be doing.
That makes sense. The other one to me, Greeny, is I'm surprised Dan didn't go there, is Aaron Rodgers to Vegas, and here's why. When you sign a 73-year-old Pete Carroll, you're trying to stabilize your franchise. You could do that with Aaron Rodgers. Chip Kelly will maximize what he has. You're in the same building with Tom Brady. And look, Colton Miller, Jackson Powers-Johnson, it's not ideal up front, but you do have a couple of pieces. And if I'm Rodgers, I'd rather be in Vegas than with the Giants.
What do you think, Dan?
I just don't think that makes sense for the organization. I'm starting anew.
But you're a 73-year-old head coach. You're not building.
But I'm trying to reestablish something. Start a build of something. I just don't believe that that's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, for me right now, is I got to get something done today. Like, I need for us to be a competitive football team right now. If I'm the Raiders and I've got Patrick and Justin and Bo Nix and Sean Payton and Andy Reid and Harbaugh in my division, Rodgers is not closing that gap, Mike T. He's not.
Dan, wait, hold on a second. Philadelphia? Washington? Where do you think the Giants are going in the NFC East?
If you're Rodgers,
but the Giants aren't. But the Giants aren't trying to close a gap over the next. The Giants and the people making those decisions have till November. You know this. That's the reality. Whether I like Brian Dable or not and think he's a good coach or not, he's got till November. He can't be 2-6. It's just the reality of that job.
When should we expect some of these things to happen? Free agency, when are these dominoes going to start to fall?
Well, we'll know tomorrow afternoon if the Vikings franchise Darnold, which I don't think they're going to do, but it's not out of the question. If they don't, that means he's got a market, and, you know, we'll see how. He's probably the next one to fall, I would think, domino-wise, because, you know, you talk about a guy who's 27 years old, probably still has some upside.
Sam Darnold?
Yeah, Sam Darnold. Aaron Rodgers, we'll see. I agree with Dan. I don't think there's going to be a ton out there for him in terms of teams ready to win right now.
Darnold and Fields obviously are young. Wilson and Rodgers obviously a lot older. ESPN Big Monday.
Ok rồi, được cái hàng như này. Đây nha mọi người, mình sẽ đo tay. Đấy, nó sẽ ôm vừa vặn nhá, vì mình đã đo trước khi mình móc. Rồi giờ mình sẽ móc hàng tiếp theo này. Mình gỡ một chút len ra nha mọi người.